Thank you, Carlos. Many of you are relatively new to NASA's SBIR and STTR process, so today you'll get the opportunity to hear directly from two small businesses that have been quite successful in NASA's SBIR program, taking their innovative ideas from proof of concept all the way through to infusion and commercialization with NASA and beyond. So we have Jim Ong from Stotler Henke, which is based out of San Mateo, California, and Rich Bowling with TechShot, based out of Greenville, Indiana. So thank you guys both for joining us today. I'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves, and then we can hear directly from you on your tips and advice, and you guys will have the opportunity to directly ask them questions. Jim, would you like to start?
Sure. Am I on?
It's on. It is on. If you want to use this.
Hello? I'm Jim Ong. My company name is Stotler Henke. We are a software R&D company specializing in artificial intelligence. The areas that we have focused on have been automated scheduling. Our company was sort of born out of a NASA SBIR contract at a Kennedy for automated scheduling. Other areas that we work in are knowledge management and training, autonomous systems, and simulation.
Rich?
Hi, I'm Rich Bowling with TechShot. Tomorrow I will be with TechShot 17 years, so it's a place I love and an industry that I love. TechShot came out of my boss's 8th grade science fair project in the early 80s and continued to grow and prosper. So I think we had the first SBIR Phase 3 that NASA Ames had awarded. That's been 16 years or 17 years ago now or so. And we've gone on to have other Phase 3s with other centers. We have equipment that operates on board the International Space Station today. We have a Space Act agreement and an IDIQ contract with the Johnson Space Center to essentially provide a catalog of life and physical sciences research equipment on board the station. And then we also have done SBIRs with the DoD, NIH, NSF, NOAA, various other agencies. I think maybe 110 SBIR Phase 1, 2, and 3 contracts so far. So that's TechShot.
Thank you. I'm going to ask a few questions to kick things off, and then we'll open it up to the audience for other questions. If you guys could give an innovator one piece of advice before starting on the SBIR STTR process, what would it be?
Do you really want to do this? I think you have to want to. It has to match what your purpose of your goals, the mission of your company. For us, we've always been a company that's wanted to work particularly in aerospace and in human spaceflight. But in our company, our accounting system, everything is really tailored and focused on doing business with the government in this way. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of very hard work just to submit a proposal, and we'll spend $25,000 or $30,000 in time just to put together a really competitive proposal. And in some ways, it has to be, in a sense, someone else casually looking at it, as if you've already done all the work. From our perspective, whenever you've done a Phase 1 proposal. But these things, the government is investing in putting out not a small piece of money, really. And they just want to make sure that there's a return for the American people, and we understand that and want to be good partners with that.
I would say we try to identify a lead customer and insertion target as soon as we can, ideally during the Phase 1 proposal process, but certainly during the Phase 1 project. Often the lead customer, is NASA, which makes it straightforward, but often it isn't. And often it's, especially if you're building an application where it's not a single enterprise deployment, but it's a system that would be used by many possible companies with diverse needs, and that becomes trickier. But getting a good understanding of your customer sounds obvious, but the things you can do, for example, are to read as much as you can about projects going on in the relevant centers, or either missions or research literature.
And then what did you do during the SBIR STTR process that had the most impact or was the best use of your time?
I think he said it very well, that you really have to spend your time getting to understand the need, the market need. And you can't be so in love with your own technology that you really are just looking to the federal government for some funding to just really further your own initiative in the commercial marketplace. I think that would be a good byproduct, but the federal government has a need that they're looking to find a solution for. And so getting to really understand that need is what I think everyone should spend most of their time up front. And it is more than it can be a year-long process or a continual process just to write one single SBIR. So understand, I echo that, understand your market.
Let me just elaborate on one aspect of understanding the need and a challenge, which is in my area, which is building software. Often what is not really obvious and can be deceiving is what should be the scope of the software. So often the research topic is focused on a particular problem that calls for a particular technology, but in order to provide a solution, the user needs to use that technology in the context of other capabilities. Deciding what capabilities to build to support a complete solution is not always an easy question. You have to be aware of the sort of the ecosystem that your technology or your module will be deployed in, and there will often be incumbent software that are just going to be difficult to displace, or not much need for it. So figuring out the boundaries of your application and what it should do needs to be done in the context of what the user's assumptions and processes are.
Oftentimes companies struggle with that bridging the gap between phase 2 and phase 3. Have you guys leveraged any of NASA's post-phase 2 initiatives like phase 2E and X or CCRPP? Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
So we have both phase 2. I think we had a phase 2E. We've had one so far, CCRPP, and so both of those have helped. Like this fall, we'll launch something called the Multi-Use Variable Gravity Platform, and it's going to launch to the space station and stay there as a permanent research platform. And so that gap was bridged by CCRPP money to get that to fly. So that was a very big deal for us, and I think for NASA as a capability as well.
We have not participated in the phase 2E program. One thing I will say is that the deadlines for applying for it are earlier than you think, and earlier than often you'll feel comfortable trying to publicize your phase 2 technology that's still in progress, but that's sort of a necessity.
And knowing what you know now, is there anything you guys would have done differently in your journey on SBIR or STTR?
I don't think so. Our first SBIR we won in something like 1990, and the program has evolved and improved, and we have become what I call an innovation engine. Our little company, we've got about 40 people, but it started with 2 guys in a basement, right? And our little spot on the road in Indiana we're so excited we got our second stoplight. And we are in an unincorporated area of the smallest county in Indiana, second smallest county in Indiana. But we're able to bring in, and attract high skill, high wage people to an area that was an underserved area. It's not quite a hub zone, but there's really not much else happening in this unincorporated area of our county. So I don't know that what I would say I would go back and do differently, but I'm just so glad that the opportunity, the program exists, and it helps us compete with the really big players in this business.
I would say that a thing we should do more of is to not only think about where we want to end up in terms of a product or solution offering, for a set of customers, but how to get there in a stepwise way. Often the investment in development and marketing are, certainly more than the SBIR contracts are going to fund. So I think a good strategy is to have a long-range vision, but figure out what viable steps can get you there.
We can open it up now for questions from the audience. Does anybody have any questions?
Hi. So I understand that your small business is operating in Indiana. I think that's awesome. I'm very happy to hear that the space industry is expansive across the entire United States. This is Silicon Valley, and circumstances here are a little bit different. A lot of that has to do with costs. Can you talk a little bit about managing costs as a small business?
Well, for us, the cost issue has a lot to do with maintaining that excellent staff that you can bring together, and how are you going to keep everyone employed when one contract starts and another one stops. And we've just worked to bring in, to diversify. I guess diversification is huge for us. So besides NASA, although NASA was the only customer for the first 13 years, we started diversifying and winning contracts with other people who need robust, reliable, efficient hardware. And so we started with the Department of Defense. And so then we created a spin-off company called TechShot Lighting, because we created, through an SBIR, an LED lighting product for military tents that's super rugged and robust. We spun that off and licensed that technology to TechShot Lighting, which now is wildly successful. And so money comes back as a royalty stream from TechShot Lighting, and it kind of helps fill things in, helps us manage things a lot better. I think that's part of what we all want, is to get something that gets licensed, out-licensed maybe, or bought, and that keeps that innovation engine running on a fairly even keel. So I think a few years ago, that challenge was really just, how do you keep everybody after the contract ends, or that was the main challenge.
Okay.
Congratulations on your success. Did either of you use venture capitalists? Is this on? I can't tell. In other words, what were your supplemental financing look like? What did it look like?
Go ahead.
We have not used external investment. Most of our revenue is from contract R&D from various government agencies, although we do also have a substantial amount of our revenue doing semi-custom scheduling systems.
And we have not either entertained any investments, outside investments, things like that. Some of the things that we've developed through SBIR, as I mentioned, the spin-off company with a lighting system, which is providing royalties back to TechShot. But SBIRs have helped us develop equipment that's continues to provide revenue, like the X-ray machine we have on board the space station right now. So far, Eli Lilly, Novartis, UCLA this summer are paying to have us X-ray their mice on board the International Space Station. That X-ray machine was built under an SBIR tiered system, phase 1, 2, and 3. And so new drugs that are helping people with osteoporosis and muscle wasting diseases are being tested, and that's an ongoing revenue stream as well. The MVP that I mentioned that will be launched this fall, it wasn't a one-time thing. We built it, but the revenue stream will continue to come because It's a fee-for-services business now, using our equipment on board the station. So it's, we don't want to, I know you could maybe scale up in a big way with some outside VC investment, but we want to maintain control right now.
Anybody else? Okay.
So sorry, I missed the earlier part, but I heard some stuff here which I think I can relate to. And so one thing I did hear was you stayed away from VCs. How long have you been in business?
29 years.
29 years? So you,
I think the same, 1988.
Mm-hmm.
oh, okay. So the research model has worked for you in terms of just, you know, government funding over the years. Have you commercialized any particular one of your products?
Our main commercial product is called the Aurora scheduling system. We sell it to, I can't remember, 20 or 30 companies.
Do you manufacture it yourself, or do you?
It's a piece of software.
Oh, okay.
And then we also develop training, small and large training systems, mainly for the DoD.
Thank you.
It's bound to happen.
Okay.
You guys have a very interesting business model. Specifically, it sounds like this is, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you took innovation and product development and you found a way to get customer satisfaction.
Hope
Yes,
so.
that's
Hope
right.
our customers are satisfied, yes.
One more thing. Congratulations.
We're also 3-time Tibbetts Award winners so far. Do you guys know about the Tibbetts Award? It's awarded by the U.S. Small Business Administration for outstanding participation in the SBIR program. And then my boss, the guy who had the 8th grade science fair project, was awarded the Excellence in Technology Achievement Medal, something like that, from the center director at Johnson last fall. So he jokes he's never really had a job. He came right out of college and started this company. So he's the guy in shorts and a t-shirt, you know, unless he's here, he's in shorts and t-shirt all year long. It's a great company.
I've heard businesses characterized for SBIR as capability-based and product-based. So I would characterize myself, for example, as capability-based. Like I know a field of aerospace and I want to just target it with different research projects. And other people have a specific technology that they want to bring to market, maybe within NASA. In your experience, could you make some comment on those two different capabilities or services?
I think for us, it's a mixture. There are certainly some efforts where we're able to either draw on specific software that we have or highly specific expertise. And then there are other projects where our expertise might be more diffuse, or our understanding of an application area. So I think it's really a mixture.
So, same for us too. Certainly the lighting system that we spun off is a product. And I think they have orders for like 60,000 of these lights right now, and they sell for about $250 a piece. They're very special for a certain military specification. But then on the services side, all the space qualified equipment that we're launching to the station that'll stay up there is being provided and offered as a service. Now, we're also building right now a 3D biofabrication facility for the ISS. And that's a mixture of SBIR funding from the Defense Health Agency, because we developed some artificial blood vessels for the military, and that's sort of morphing and turning into this 3D biofabrication facility, plus ISS program funding, plus our own funding. And that's going to be put on the station, should launch next year, and we'll build you a new heart or liver at some point, and that'll be offered as a service as well.
Hi, I have a question regarding the timeline. So from the time you submit a proposal, you're developing your product, you sell it 3 years, 2 years. So by the time you see a profit on that, say for the light that you designed for the military, so what was the timeline for that?
10 years. 10 years.
I would say it varies for us. Often we develop, an operational system by the end of phase 2. That's certainly easier if the software is offline and not flying in space, but that is true for training and simulation systems. And then, given that, our technologies, evolve. So it's hard to often put your finger on exactly when the technology, was created and when it was deployed. I would say, some technologies, some applications like training have a quicker turnaround. I think the closer you are to the vehicle, probably the longer it takes.
Like the MVP device was about 5 years. So some of that's driven by an SBIR phase 2 is 2 years. So, there is some metering along the way. And the fact that we didn't want to take VC money. I think maybe perhaps we could have gone faster with some of that, but we wanted to maintain control. We wanted to keep our company where it is in southern Indiana. So we had some concerns that perhaps somebody would pluck us and move us to Boston or to here or to San Diego or something like that. We wanted to keep it contributing to the economy in southern Indiana. It can't happen faster. The X-ray machine we built in 18 months. So it can, but if you've got all the money, then your limit is really just how many engineers can you get together and put on it. But it's usually the case you don't have all the money that you need at one time.
So could you address like how you're doing your market research, or do you do market research to see a problem, or are you're just thinking about problems you think that haven't been solved, and you think, all right, I've got an idea, let me see if I can build a little prototype, and then you go looking for research dollars? What's your process, I guess?
When you say market research, are you talking about looking for research funding or for commercial?
I'm saying that you look at the market, or maybe I'm thinking more of a commercial product. So you're looking for a need that isn't being met. So is that how you're finding your ideas, or are you finding your ideas mainly for technical issues that don't have a solution?
For our scheduling systems, there are many, many scheduling products out there. And so the trick is to, identify some, unmet scheduling capability. For that area, the highest performing systems are often custom in-house systems that are specialized for the particular organization using it. I would say that in that example, we had acquired some success working with our lead customer, which was NASA, and then that gave us both technology and credibility to market to other large companies.
And then for us, we have I think a really good and thorough relationship with a lot of our constituencies within NASA. And then the agency tells you where it's going. We saw the chart, one of the first charts earlier today about Earth to Mars. And so there are a lot of technologies that they've said that they've got to figure out before they get there. The X-ray machine for mice, osteoporosis, bone loss is a huge problem for spaceflight crews. So if you're going to go to Mars, this is one of the tall poles in the tent. So proposing thoughts and ideas we might be able to provide a solution to that is just, comes from knowing your customer. The DoD, though, is so big. How we've had success with the DoD is just solicitations and seeing if we've got a good solution. Sometimes there are things we've developed through NASA, or maybe our saw was sharpened through a really tough NASA challenge, and we saw an opportunity to use that with the DoD. So the technology wasn't an exact transfer, but we learned something through NASA that we applied to win a DoD project.
Cool. Thanks.
And I think we have time for one more question. No one? Okay. I did want to let you guys know, Joseph Grant mentioned earlier, he gave some examples of successful NASA SBIR companies and shared their success stories. Both Statler Henke and TechShot also have published success stories on our website. So I encourage you all to go to our website and check out those articles. They're really inspiring, and you can learn more about some of the successful things that have come out of the program. Thank you guys both for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.